What's up, collectors? Welcome back to another video. Welcome back to another video about collecting, specifically problems that we have as collectors. Not everything is available sometimes, and there's a lot of movies that we have been wanting to get our hands on that we cannot because they're just not available, at least in Region A. So if you missed it a little while back, I'll put the link in the description. We did a video about our top 10 Blu-rays that we think deserve a boutique Blu-ray treatment. We're gonna do a follow-up to that video, and this time we're gonna be talking about box sets that we wish existed. And I've got my good buddy Connor Nielsen back again to talk about this topic with me. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. Hope to redeem myself a little bit, because I know when it came to that video, I was throwing out stuff that Region A was kind of lacking, and people rightfully pointed out, like, I mean, all you have to do is get a region-free Blu-ray player and you'll be fine. I'm like, I know.
Yeah. You got a little bit of heat in that. Not heat. People are just pointing it out to you. But this one will be more creative, right? Because we got to completely create our own box sets for this. I think people give us a little more slack for these because this is just what we wish existed. Just basically where I am right now. I did things that are like very topical in my collecting journey. I didn't go back to all-time favorites, things that I own that I would just like a better box set for. I just kept it to things that I can't get my hands on, that I've been watching through recently, that I really wish I could, because they're great movies. So we haven't talked about this at all. We're just going to go back and forth 10-1. And why don't you go ahead and throw out your number 10 dream box sets, we'll call it. What is your dream box set number 10?
Okay, number 10 is a little difficult to explain. I don't even necessarily know how you would do it, but I have a fascination with lost films. So I don't know if it would be a thing of you would maybe just need to produce documentaries, or you definitely need to put money into it, but it would be like some kind of lost film archive. Maybe you could include
just get Scorsese on it.
Yeah, exactly. But like stuff like London After Midnight, or The Four Devils, I think it's called Four Devils. That's F.W. Murnau's follow-up to Sunrise. Those kind of iconic movies that people know about, but they're lost. Now, maybe there are stills that exist from these. Maybe there are, notes and, reviews that we have. And I don't know if it would necessarily be like, we're constructing, like we're trying to do like a reconstruction on some of these projects. Maybe you'd have to do it like in animation. Maybe you need to do something. Like you need to put money into
just reshoot it in color like Psycho.
Yeah, absolutely, right? It's just like Todd Browning's London After Midnight. Trust us. So I don't necessarily know how you. This is why it's number 10. But
yeah,
like,
this is just totally like.
This is the most like fantastical version of this. So this is my most fantastical. Like this will never exist. But I think just as a means of like educating people on what lost films there are, because there have been many a Vault Fire, many like in the silent era, just throwing stuff away. Like there are so many of John Ford's early works that they don't exist anymore. And so maybe just finding a way of informing people about this. Maybe like you could do like a whole thing where you're trying to recreate through animation or through something or other, you sort of recreate the movie, and maybe you can only do them as like a series of documentaries. Like, I don't know, but like having like a set where I could just sit down, pop in a disc and learn about some kind of lost film that we either have fragments of or whatnot. I would really like that. So that's my number 10.
Okay. Some of mine are unrealistic too. Like, well, what are you going to do? The rights issues are always going to be a problem. So some of them just are never going to happen. But I wish that these existed. I don't think this is going to be a rights issue. This is my number 10. I have it at the bottom because it is not something I'm super familiar with, but it is something that I would like to familiarize myself with. It is number 10, John Weissmuller, 12-movie Tarzan collection. He was in 12 movies, this Johnny Weissmuller character. Tarzan the Ape Man is the first one that he did in 1932, directed by W.S. Van Dyke. And I have seen that one, and I really enjoyed it. It is not appropriate for the times. It's not holding up in that way, but it is a fun 30s adventure romp, kind of very similar to King Solomon's Mines, if you've seen that. And I really like his portrayal of Tarzan. Obviously, they usually just cast like athletes as Tarzan, like throughout the like early on, especially in like the silent era when he didn't have to speak. They just needed a big burly guy. I think a shot put athlete from the Olympics was the first Tarzan in like those 1912 serials. Like they go way back. Maybe not that far back. Maybe it was in the 20s, but I would really like this as a set. There is a DVD set, which is I think like the first 5 or 6 of Weissmuller's Tarzan films, and I've had that in my hands at CD Warehouse, and I didn't pick it up because I didn't really know what it was at the time, and then I left and I came back and I was like, do you still have this? And he's like, no, sorry, I don't. So I would love a Blu-ray set. I would love these to be cleaned up a little bit. I know like by the time you get to Tarzan's Triumph and Tarzan and the Leopard Woman, they're probably not going to be very easy to clean up or like worth cleaning up. I'm assuming these go downhill, but I'll just rattle off all the 12 films he's been in real quick. The first one is Tarzan the Ape Man, Tarzan and His Mate, Tarzan Escapes, Tarzan Finds a Son, Tarzan's Secret Treasure, Tarzan's New York Adventure, Tarzan's Triumph, Tarzan's Desert Mystery, Tarzan and the Amazons, Tarzan and the Leopard Woman, Tarzan and the Huntress, and Tarzan and the Mermaids. So we get into fantasy there at the end. I don't know. Tarzan is something I'm interested in. I like Burroughs. I've read his books, and I enjoy them for what they were at the time. And I think that this is kind of a collection I would like to start. It's the Tarzan films. There's a Blu-ray coming out, the Tarzan Vault Collection or something that is those like really old silent ones that I may pick up. I think it's coming out this month or maybe next month. And I would just like to have these Weissmuller ones because these are the big ones. Tarzan the Ape Man, the first one is where we get that iconic sound effect that he makes that, no, I can't even do it because it's really strange. But I've actually seen a Tarzan movie from like the 50s that's not good. They just straight up steal that sound effect and use it in there. Oh. But I'd like these originals, all 12, maybe not 12, just give me as many as you can in a nice Blu-ray set. I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah, that would be very neat, I think. At least just for the history of it, like going... I didn't realize he played that role 12 times. That must be some kind of record.
It's crazy. Yeah, and they were probably pumping them out like one every year. It might be like a Son of Kong situation where it's like, oh, it was popular, let's shut it out real quick, which we all know how that ended. Oh. But yeah, that's my number 10. I'm not super upset about it, but it would be nice to have. Be cool.
Yeah, all right. So moving on to my number 9. Mm-hmm. This is one that I haven't exactly thought a whole lot through. I just know conceptually, like... I know I have 4. I have 4 that could fit into this box set.
Okay. It's a 4-pack.
Yeah, 4-movie pack. The problem is the 4th one would have like nothing to do with the other 3 except
I have some like that too.
Yeah. So, you know how in like every once in a while we try to make the anthology movie thing happen. John Landis and Steven Spielberg were probably like, we're like the new Hollywood, man. Let's do like what those old new wave European people did and do an anthology movie. And then you get like the Twilight Zone movie and people don't really like it. And then it just kind of goes away. People like one of the segments or something and then it goes away. And then there's like some producer being like, wow, it's the 90s now. And the indie scene's really blowing up. You know, Quentin Tarantino, Robert Rodriguez. It's like a new Hollywood new wave, you know? And so let's look at like what those mid-century European new wave people were doing, and let's do an anthology movie. And then you get 4 rooms, and it's just dreadful. And so, and then it goes away for a while, and then it comes back every so often. It's like we keep trying to dig up the anthology movie, and they never seem to work out. Yep. I would actually be interested in a European like anthology movie set because a lot of them are hard to get your hands on. And you know, if you're like me and you want to go through a lot of those great European like filmmakers that helped write the rule book on what we think of today as like cinema, then you know a lot of these are hard to get your hands on. Like Ingmar Bergman, who I've watched just a lot of in the last month, he did one. It was called Stimulantia. He did a segment for that, and it's like 8 different directors that all contributed to this project. Now, I think his was just like some footage of his child that he had shot as like a home movie that he donated to the project. But regardless, I would like to see not just the footage. Now, that footage is available, but I would like to see how that footage was utilized in a broader 8-director thing because a lot of Bergman's actors like Gunnar Bjornstrand were in that movie. And so I want to see what that is. I don't think they were in Bergman's segment, but regardless. But then like Federico Fellini did 3 of them. 3 of them. Like there's Love in the City, there's Boccaccio 70, and then there's Spirits of the Dead. And so it would just be kind of nice if at least you had the 3 Fellini anthology movies, or at least those 3 movies that Fellini contributed to, and then also Stimulantia because Bergman contributed to that. At least those 4, it would be kind of nice to at least have the availability. But I'm sure a lot of other notable filmmakers who maybe are not Fellini, maybe not Bergman, but maybe like they're still a part of like those French New Wave or Czech New Wave, or a lot of those filmmakers were like collaborating, and it'd be kind of nice to like maybe through Boccaccio 70 I'm there for Fellini, but then I find this other filmmaker that interests me, and then I could maybe go on to study more of their work. But a lot of those movies are just not really readily available, so it would be kind of nice to at least have those, and maybe selling one of those anthology films is not much of a sell, but if you combined them all, maybe you have something. So that's one of my thinking for number 9. European anthology films.
You got to come up with titles for all these. These are very interesting. Speaking of weird title things, my number 9 is a director-actor combo. I don't know if Criterion ever does this, or...
They do, sometimes.
They do? Okay. So this might fit in for Criterion. Not all these films, some of them. It is John Huston and Humphrey Bogart. The John Huston and Humphrey Bogart collection. And I've got 5 films that they collaborated on. And the quality, I think, drops. Like, I haven't seen all of these, but I think they're all pretty well regarded. The first one is Maltese Falcon. That could be in the Criterion collection, right?
I mean, it could be. It's the film that created film noir, according to a lot of historians. But it's also Warner Brothers, Yeah,
they're going to hold it down. Maybe this is a Warner archive set that they put out. So I've got the Maltese Falcon. I've got the Treasure of the Sierra Madre, which I got back in this video because I brought it up as an honorable mention in the last video, but there's only just a bare bones crappy Blu-ray of it. There's not like a nice release of it. So that would be cool to get some bonus features on here in this set. And then the 3, you've got The African Queen, which we both watched recently.
It's a good movie.
Nomination.
Beloved.
Yeah.
Beloved movie.
Beloved movie. That's another collaboration they did. 4 is Key Largo, which has a pretty good Letterboxd score. I don't know much about it. And then 5 is Beat the Devil. I had to pretty deep poll to get their 5th collaboration, but they did do another film called Beat the Devil. 5 films. I think that would be a cool set, right? John Huston and Humphrey Bogart. Yeah. Classic, kind of iconic collaboration team, and they've done some great films. So that would be cool. If nothing else, just to get a really nice version of Treasure of Sierra Madre. And then, I mean, Maltese Falcon is also a good perk to be in a box set. So that's my set.
That's a great. That's one of those duos that is iconic, and what's really cool is you put those together, and then you have the draws with like maybe a new 4K restoration of Maltese Falcon, a 4K copy of The African Queen, and then something that if you put in Beat the Devil, people are not going to be as informed on that one, and maybe you got something there. I don't know. It's cool.
And I could see it being a cool like digibook with like five pages, kind of like that 1939 one I have. If you have to drop Beat the Devil, a 4-pack, just like yours. 4 movies in there. So yeah, some form of a John Huston and Humphrey Bogart collaboration set would be really nice to have. What is your number 8?
So my number 8 is basically this is an update of a set that probably already exists. And this set is probably inevitable anyways. So I want all of the Rocky movies restored in a 4K set because they all have a Blu-ray, right? And they've been pumping out these Blu-ray sets all the time. There's the heavyweight set. There's the heavyweight collection. There's the whatever.
Isn't there like an Undisputed collection or something?
The Undisputed. I think there was the Undisputed collection, and then there was the heavyweight collection, which is the exact same thing as the Undisputed collection. Like it's just the same movies with the same restoration and the same lack of bonus features outside of like 1 and 6. And then it's like, the thing is, all these movies were like restored and then like released when Rocky Balboa came out. Like it has been forever. Like, that was what, 06. Yeah, like craziness, bananas.
Very early Blu-rays. That was like the beginning of Blu-ray.
Yeah, and like these are like okay, the first Rocky is an iconic classic, right? One of those like American all-timers. Rocky 3 is great too. And so what I hey, you can have Home Alone 3, I'll have Rocky 3, all right? So but it would be so nice to just have these cleaned up, have them updated with time, because if we're going to keep putting them out, at least have these restored, because they sound great still. I mean, Rocky 3 and 4 might be the loudest films ever made by humanity, but when they're hitting each other, it sounds like cars crashing into one another. And then what you'll probably end up doing, once the Creed movies are done, they'll probably release all the Creed and the Rocky movies together. I think that's.
What do you think of this? The Legacy Collection.
Oh, there we go.
There it is.
There we go.
All 9 films.
Yeah. So that's what I would like to see. I mean.
So you do want the Creeds included?
If I have to get the Creeds included, I would prefer to just have like the Rocky movies in a set and then the Creed movies in a set.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if I have to have them all together, I'll take it. Because I do like the Creed movies quite a bit, and I like the Rocky movies quite a bit. So
yeah, most of them.
That's my number 8, Rocky in 4K.
That's really good. I didn't even think of that. That's a good one. My number 7. I'll get to it in a minute because we're on number 8. My number 8 is also an update of a DVD collection. This is a Warner home video release. It's only available on DVD. It's got a theme, but it's very eclectic within the theme. It is called the Warner Home Video Shakespeare Collection. Have you seen this?
Ooh, no.
It's a nice release. I like it. It's like got its own box set. I just want a Blu-ray version. Like, can't you just? Warner is so bad about releasing Blu-rays. Like their Warner Archive stuff, they still just release DVDs, which is fine. I mean, I'm glad to have it. I might pick this set up eventually because I don't think a Blu-ray set is likely. So it includes 4 Shakespeare films that Warner just has the rights to. They don't have anything to do with each other. The first one is Hamlet, 1996, with Kenneth Branagh directing. Second one is the reason I even found out about this set, because I wanted to pick this one up. It's A Midsummer Night's Dream from 1935, directed by William Dieterle, who I'm not familiar with, but I really enjoyed the movie, and I would like to get my hands on that. He directed The Hunchback of Notre Dame from 1939 also.
Oh, cool.
Which it's a really, really good movie. And then the third film in the set is Othello from 1965, starring Laurence Olivier. And then the fourth one is Romeo and Juliet from 1936 by the great George Cukor. Holiday, Philadelphia Story, My Fair Lady, etc. All kinds of great movies. And I haven't seen that film, and I love 30s movies, so I want to check that one out. So all over the place, it goes from 90s to 30s to 60s to back to 30s. It's a very strange set, but I would like a Blu-ray update of it. I would like these films to be cleaned up, especially the 2 from the 30s. I think that would be great. And I mean, Othello from 1965 with Laurence Olivier, is that released anywhere else? Or does Warner still have the rights?
Oh man, I don't know. That's a good call. I don't know, but those 2 movies from the 30s were both nominated for Best Picture as well. So I know I would probably be interested.
You got to get this set then.
And I've always wanted to see Branagh's Hamlet. I have not actually sat down to watch that 4.5-hour version of it. But.
Oh man. Well, yeah. So there you go. I'm pitching Connor on this DVD set, even though I want it to be a Blu-ray set because it would be so cool. But it's probably never going to happen. But that's what this video's for. We're just dream Blu-ray box sets is what we said, and that would be really nice to have. I would like to have those movies on Blu-ray. So, are you telling me that Midsummer Night's Dream was nominated?
It was.
Wow. Okay, I really liked it, and I've been in a Shakespeare mood lately. And there's a lot of Shakespeare like in the Criterion Collection and in other boutique stuff, but I don't think any of these ones are. So, make it happen,
well,
Warner's.
I mean, Laurence Olivier's like Hamlet is kind of that one Best Picture, and that kind of has overshadowed like the other Shakespeare movie from that year that premiered at Cannes, which was Orson Welles' Macbeth. But I guess Orson Welles' Othello has just overshadowed Laurence Olivier's Othello.
I know. There was like Coke and Pepsi with their Shakespeare adaptations.
Yeah,
that's a cool set. It's another 4-pack, and I think that would be really cool if they would do a Blu-ray release. But that's my number 8.
Excellent. All right, so moving on to number 7.
Yes. Okay,
so this one I think actually can happen.
Ooh.
And so as we know, A24 is very popular with film school types, right? I count myself amongst them, right? Film Twitter, loves A24. They've really done a good job of branding themselves. They were only founded 10 years ago. Can you believe that?
It's crazy. No, and I'm even on board now because they've started branching out of horror here and there.
Yeah, and they are kind of like the Miramax. What Miramax was to the 90s, like they have kind of become in the 2010s, 2020s. Maybe they just need to have a bigger, marketing budget in terms of like awards campaigns to actually like, do what Miramax was doing in the 90s. But still, like they're giving wide distribution and attention to weird art movies and directors that probably would just be stuck making streaming movies that nobody would be watching. So what they're also doing, though, is they have an online store where they've been releasing online exclusives, like Midsummer 4K director's cut. You could only get the director's cut at all, but the 4K of it on their store.
Oh, wow.
Exclusively.
Oh, and then the Lamb release from last year was really beautiful. I was almost tempted to get it.
And that was another one that they did. So they're trying to, and there's a rumor going around that they're trying to make the A24 shop like the place to get A24 films. Mm-hmm. And so they have a pretty long-standing physical release model with Lionsgate. I think they're actually stepping away from that and trying to kind of control their own distribution.
Interesting. So they'll almost be like a label themselves.
Exactly. And so what I think they could do that would be really cool is you could call it the A24 chronology series, where you would put out maybe like
24
these
films?
Are all, well, maybe not. You could maybe say like, okay, this is all the movies we put out in 2013. And these are all the movies we put out in 2014. And these are all the movies we put out in 2015. And then these are all the movies we put out in 2016. Like, and so you would have like every A24 movie. Now, they put out some crappy James Franco movies, back in the day, right? But like you could have a means of maybe like, I'm not interested in buying one of those all by itself, but you put it in a set with all these other officially licensed A24 movies in an A24 like set, and you could have this really cool, like you could almost look like books on a shelf. Like you could have something really cool there. And I think they have all of the means to be able to do this. And they could also like move product that is like old and have people rejuvenated and a renewed interest in their catalog through doing this. So that's my idea.
That's a really cool idea, man. That's very creative. Yeah, I could see that happening. And I could see people picking that up because, yeah, A24 is huge. Yeah, good one. I like your number 7, sir.
Oh, thank you.
Here's my number 7. It is and I never know how to pronounce this gentleman's name. Excuse me, Mr. Schwankmajer. Schwankmajer? Jan or John Schwankmajer box set. The man does not have that many films, but he does have enough to make a box set, I think. I would love it. Are you familiar a little bit with the man? He uses a lot of like stop motion elements in his films.
He did Alice, right?
Creepy. Yes. So the first film obviously would be his first feature-length film, which is 1988's Alice. There's his name if you can pronounce it better than I can. But this is a great film. This is a great adaptation. I didn't know it was his first film. That's very impressive. His second film after this was Faust. Throw that in the collection. That is another one I have seen. Very strange, but I enjoyed it. It's very interesting. So that would be the second film. His other ones are called Conspirators of Pleasure. Then you've got Little Otik, which is a very creepy little like horror film about a woman taking care of like a log of wood. I don't know. It looks awesome, and I really want to get my hands on it for a Halloween month viewing at some point. And then number 5, you've got Lunacy. You've got Surviving Life, Theory and Practice. And then his 7th film, Insect, came out in 2018. 1988 to 2018, only 7 films. And then he's got a lot of shorts. So you got to, if it was Criterion, you got to throw the shorts into the box set as well. Or whoever's going to put this out. I don't know who in the world has the rights to all of his films, but he's a very unique, quirky director that I think deserves some more love, because I'm sure you can get Faust, and I'm sure you can get this, and I'm sure you can get some of his other films just on Blu-ray here and there, but these are very bare bones releases, not a lot of bonus features, and I would just like to learn more about this dude, because he seems really cool. And that is John Schwankmajer, however you pronounce his name. I really should just look it up.
Isn't it Jan?
Jan, sure.
Like, yeah,
sure. Let me just pronounce everything wrong, even his first 3. I can't even pronounce his 3-letter name right, because I'm a dummy. But yeah, That's my number 7. I think a box set of his stuff is long overdue. The man worked for 40 years, and he deserves it. So that's my number 7.
That's a really cool pick. All right, my number 6. Now I'm kind of. This one's a little bit of a bet now because it involves television, and
okay.
You know me, I really struggle at watching television. Not because I think it's bad. It's the commitment, like...
I'm the same way these days, man. I don't have enough time to commit to 4 seasons.
So this involves television. However, it also involves a movie. One of my favorite movies of the last 10 years is Blind Spotting, written by Raphael Cassel and Daveed Diggs, starring them as well. Daveed Diggs gives one of my favorite performances in the last 10 years. He is so good in that, and Raphael Cassel is also great too. They're like buddies. They're actually rappers, but they can also act and write. Apparently, they can do anything. They're great. This got a release on Blu-ray back when the movie came out in 2018. Kind of a smaller movie. Probably the best edited movie of that year. The editing is really tight in that. I really like the direction. It's directed by a music video director, so very much coming from that world, but they cross over into cinema, and I think in a very elegant way that speaks with so much personality. Mm-hmm. So the first step of this box set, get that movie on 4K. Please. It looks great. It would probably look awesome in 4K. Secondly, there's actually a Starz television show called Blind Spotting that is created by the creators of the movie. So It doesn't have anything to do with Miles and Colin, though, because I don't think Colin is in that movie. That's the Daveed Diggs character. I don't think he's in that show. And I think the start of that show is Raphael Cassel's character, Miles, goes to jail. And so it's kind of about his wife and kid and, like, the people they know. So, I mean, to me, the appeal of that film is the friendship between those two people and, like, the race dynamic and just how thoughtful. Like, it's ludicrous that Green Book won Best Picture that year when friggin' Blind Spotting is right there. But Blind Spotting rules. But I'm curious to check out the show. Apparently it's awesome. Like, it's been getting very good reviews. I think it's getting a second season.
Oh, that's really cool.
So if you could just release this as a box set and, you give me incentive to upgrade by giving Blind Spotting a 4K. I love that movie enough to where I will upgrade it. Mm-hmm. Then there you go. That's my number 6. Is Blind Spotting movie TV combo.
No, that's really cool. It's a cool concept combining the TV show with the movie. They could do something similar also with Fargo.
Ooh, yeah.
It has 4 seasons out now, but the movie they're kind of in the same continuity. It doesn't really contradict anything. That'd be cool too, but that's not on my list. My number 6 is something completely different. It's a trilogy, kind of. It's not really a trilogy. It's actually not a trilogy at all. They're just...
I like how that started off as it's a trilogy, and then you worked your way through all the stages to it's not a trilogy at all.
It's thought of as a trilogy because the source material is a trilogy, but it's the old 70s Lord of the Rings and Hobbit movies. So you've got The Hobbit, which...
is a killer movie, best version of The Hobbit. That movie rules.
It's great. It's very good. I watched it on HBO Max recently with my son and really enjoyed it. So The Hobbit does not have a Blu-ray, only has a DVD. I've got this one. It's the old snapback.
Wow.
Cases. Look at that. Cardboard. That's what we got, guys. Walmart and Target did release, that's why I call it a trilogy, because they did release like a set with all 3 of these in it, and they're just like standard jewel cases, but they're actually really hard to find and like expensive these days. I found these at the secondhand store for like $5 or less. I also have the Return of the King one, which also has no Blu-ray. These only have DVDs. The third one, The Lord of the Rings, which is the second one, so you go Hobbit, then you go Lord of the Rings, then you go Return of the King, does have a Blu-ray. But it has a slipcover that's very, very hard to find, which is why I have not purchased the Blu-ray yet, because I'm holding out hope that I'll find a version of the Blu-ray with the slipcover. Slipped through my fingers once. I found it on eBay for $50, and I didn't bite, and now it's super expensive to find. So please go back and restore these great movies and put them on a Blu-ray trilogy box set. Like, why not? Why has that not happened? That should totally be a thing. Apparently this one is like crazy. Like they all have kind of different animation styles because this one, I think the Return of the King is a completely different house. And apparently there's like rotoscoped real armies running in this one or something?
That's in the Lord of the Rings.
Oh, that's in the Lord of the Rings?
That's Ralph Bakshi.
Okay, so that's the one that's the different studio.
Yes.
And these two are Rankin and Bass. So that makes sense that these two are kind of on the same plane of releases. I hope these get Blu-ray someday, and I hope we can, even if I don't get a box set, if I can just get them individually as Blu-rays, that would be great. But a box set I think would be really cool just to put them all in one place. And since there is precedent for it, since they released that DVD set with all three of them. So that is it. Tolkien animated movies from the 70s and I believe 80s is when The Return of the King came out. So where is it, man?
Yeah.
Why does it not exist? Come on, Warner. I'm just knocking on Warner this whole time. Like,
I guess so.
Release your stuff, Zaslav.
Well, and
it's never going to happen now that Zaslav has it. He hates animation, and he's
like, animation is for dorks. We're moving away from it. I will say that actually ties into an earlier pick because the voice of Gandalf in The Hobbit is John Huston. So,
wow, really?
Yeah. So that's kind of cool.
He's perfect crotchety old sounding man for that movie because Gandalf's really cranky in that movie.
Dude, the orc or the goblin, sorry, not orc. The goblin song in The Hobbit animated, total banger. Oh, my lad, you go, my lad. Oh, it's iconic. So good.
We would both buy this, Warner. Put it out.
Yes.
Lots of people would buy this set. That needs to happen.
All right. My number 5, getting into the top 5. Talk about the big guns.
Top 5. Here we go.
So this is one that would not have been on my list a month ago. So that probably tells you what it has to do with. This movie...
Well, you can't ask for a box set of his stuff. There already is one.
So this is why this is completely in the fantasy realm. So...
Okay. The fantasy realm.
Yeah. Ingmar Bergman's Cinema is a box set released by Criterion Collection.
But Connor's not happy with it, and he wants a different one.
I'm not satisfied. Okay. So it's great.
It's so good.
Depending on how you're counting, 39 to 42 of Ingmar Bergman's films come into the set. He made, depending on how you're counting, up to 52 movies. Gosh. So a lot, right? Like this encompasses so much of his work.
It looks so heavy. It looks so heavy.
Oh yeah. Well, and I mean, this isn't even including the book that comes with it. Not even a booklet, like a 250-page bound book.
Good gracious.
The reason I bring this up, and I get why what I'm about to bring up is not included. So when we think about Ingmar Bergman, especially like when he started doing television, we think of there's Scenes from a Marriage, and then there is Fanny and Alexander. And in both of these cases, they filmed them as a television miniseries, and then there was a re-edit of them to have international theatrical distribution. So in North America, we got a 3-hour cut of Scenes from a Marriage. We got a 3-hour cut of Fanny and Alexander. What if I told you there was a third miniseries he did between those two in the 70s, starring Liv Ullmann, who is the greatest actress who's ever lived, I'm convinced now. Amy Adams, this is basically Amy Adams' like Swedish doppelganger. She's like, yeah, she looks just like Amy Adams. But I mean, you know, she's great in like stuff like Cries and Whispers and like Hour of the Wolf and Passion of Anna. But the big stuff she does, of course, is like Autumn Sonata is like basically the world heavyweight championship match of acting between her and Ingrid Bergman. And they're just like taking turns being like, are you done? Okay, now I'm going to give the best monologue you've ever heard in a movie. So they're just duking it out. It's awesome. But Scenes from a Marriage might be the best performance I've ever seen is Liv Ullmann's performance in Scenes from a Marriage. So I'm just on a Liv Ullmann high right now. And there's this other miniseries she did called Face to Face. And I think it was in 77 and 78 is when like the movie and the miniseries versions came out. So there was an edited down version that is apparently out there. I don't know how to get my hands on it. However, the 4-part miniseries television cut of Face to Face has like not been physically released ever. Apparently. Wow. Unless I'm wrong, someone please fact check me on that. So this is very much in the realm of dream. Criterion put out the box set of Fanny and Alexander, which includes the television and the movie and the making of documentary, all directed by Bergman. They put out Scenes from a Marriage that has both versions. If they could please, hopefully they can do it.
If they could get the rights, then they probably would.
They probably would. But the problem is now I don't think they would be able to. They probably were like, what are we going to do? Get Face to Face and then just like make it an addendum like version of our
epilogue box set?
Like, I don't think they would do that. Like an update like that's just really cost like inefficient. Like it probably sounds really stupid to do that. So I don't know if the ship has probably sailed on Criterion ever doing that. But Second Sight, hey, you want to get in on the Bergman game? Kino, you want to, show your bona fides? By all means, somebody. I have to see Face to Face. Like I love Bergman. I really friggin' love Liv Ullmann. So please, gimme. That's my number 5.
That's awesome, man. I didn't know about that. All right, my number 5 is a fun set that I really wish existed. It's another director-actor collaboration. It's the Errol Flynn and Michael Curtiz collection. Because Michael Curtiz has directed 3 films with Errol Flynn that are all about swashbuckling adventurers. Call it the Swashbuckling Adventurers set. Don't call it that. That's terrible. But come up with some cool name and put it out right away, because The Adventures of Robin Hood is a fantastic film. Captain Blood is a fantastic film and does not have a Blu-ray. And The Seahawk is a fantastic film, does have a Blu-ray, but it's bare bones one. It's not great. All 3 of those need to be in a box set. Am I right?
Yes.
Am I crazy? Why has this not happened? Errol Flynn, man, he's an institution. He's iconic. And Michael Curtiz did 3 movies with him, and they're all about pirates and adventures.
I mean, how does Adventures of Robin Hood not have a 4K yet? Like the Technicolor,
I know,
like cinematography on that movie alone, like would be like brain melting. Like it's so good.
Yeah. That one's actually much later. The first 2 are black and white films. So Captain Blood and Seahawk will be black and white, but they're great. They're so good. I've seen all 3 of these. This is actually, I think, the first set on here that I've seen all of them, and I love all of them, and I want them on a nice, sweet looking Blu-ray box set. Put out by, I guess, Warner again. Is that Warner? They also own that?
Yeah, they do.
I'm just a Warner fanboy today, apparently.
Because like Michael Curtiz and like Errol Flynn, I think like they must have had some contract there, because I know like Michael Curtiz did like Yankee Doodle Dandy, which is a Warner movie, and I think that same with Adventures of Robin Hood. So like, yeah, I think Warners, get on it. What are you doing?
What are you doing, Zaslav? Come on, you got all these great titles. Put them out on Blu-ray. We'll all buy them. Everybody should buy those because they're great. But that's my number 5. Quick and easy.
Yeah, dude. I would be there too. Don't you worry. Put them out on 4K. Like people, there's a sentiment out there that 4K was made for black and white movies. So,
they look great.
Anyways, my number 4. This is a purely spite-driven pick. You probably already know where it's going to go. So you've been dunking on Warner's this whole time. I'm going to do my part to dunk on Disney. The Marvel Cinematic Universe Phase 3. Please. I don't want Phase 4. Dump that in the trash can. Wouldn't it be so nice if these shows that are horrible could be on a disc, please? No. Take Loki. I would snap that disc in half. Falcon of the Winter Soldier, chuck it into the moon. Garbage. But
I would like a WandaVision and a Hawkeye Blu-ray that I could pop in every once in a while. But anyway, go ahead. Rant, continue.
I am content streaming those. They're all right.
I want to cancel Disney Plus. That's why I would like.
Oh, hey, good. You know what? I respect that. You know what? Maybe I actually should co-sign on that too, because I don't enjoy giving 7 or 8 or 9, however much of it is, of my dollars every month to support Disney. But maybe this is a story I've told many times on this channel.
You've told me, and I enjoy it every time.
So for the sake of posterity, I should just say it now.
Get it out here. Go ahead.
I could be done with it. Okay. Marvel Studios, very big studio. You know what I mean? I used to like their work a lot more than I do now, because, they started making, I think, subpar product.
We should do a ranking of the MCU at some point.
We should.
Or maybe just our top 10, because a ranking would take forever.
It would take forever, but I got some beef to get out.
Okay.
look, spider meme. Oh, you and Dan already talked about that one, so I don't need to put my hat in the ring. But
we talked about it very briefly. It was like
I noticed
1% of that video, not even.
Whatever. But the point is, they were doing this thing that I really liked, where they would put out these box sets for every phase. So it was the Marvel Cinematic Universe Phase 1, and it was this cool box set that included the Blu-ray and 3D versions of everything. Well, from Iron Man 2 to Avengers, they had the 3D versions, but from from Thor movie, I don't think was Iron Man 2 3D? I don't think it was.
I don't think so.
Okay. Point is, Blu-rays for all of them, 3D for all the ones that got 3D. So 6 movies. It was in this cool box set that looked like a Shield briefcase. I got my autographed by Stan Lee when he was still alive. So, just throwing that one out there, low-key bragging. And then when Ant-Man was done, they put out the next phase 2. And it was, housed in this cool, orb from Guardians of the Galaxy set.
Oh, okay.
It was nice. I liked it. You had all these kind of square card stock or cardboard disc holders, art by Matthew Ferguson on all of them. Ooh. So there's a nice concise look to all of that. I really like his sort of minimalist Art Deco style.
Yeah. And then for Phase 3, they released the Infinity Gauntlet with all the Phase 3 films, right?
Yeah, no, they didn't. And apparently Matt Ferguson missed the memo that they weren't doing one because he did art prints for all of the Phase 3 films.
What? They didn't even tell him?
Okay, so I can already see all of the Marvel bots coming out to defend, Her Majesty the Queen's honor. But I'm so salty right now. I'm sorry. But
he invested a lot of money in these sets, and then they just...
I invested a lot of friggin' time, too, in waiting for them to put out a Phase 3 set. I did not purchase any of the Phase 3 movies because I just assumed that they would be putting them out. So now, retroactively, I have to go out and buy them all. And it's really, really irritating because I was hoping to save money on that, get a cool set and whatnot. So I guess I should say, in the UK markets, they did put out Phase 3 Part 1 and Phase 3 Part 2. The problem is those boxes that they put them in are consistent with the UK Region B Phase 1, Phase 2 sets. And I think they look terrible. My bad. I don't like the way those boxes look. And I much prefer the kind of extra, as yesterday's kids would say, nature of the box sets.
He's really heated.
I was waiting on pins and needles for a Phase 3 box set so that I could have it all there and be like, sweet, awesome. I really like Endgame. Civil War is the best Marvel movie. And then the ones they made in the middle, there was a lot of good ones. I think the production quality really starts to slip around Thor Ragnarok and Black Panther because that's when they started cranking them out 3 a year. But regardless, there is some good stuff in there. I really like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I really like Endgame. I think Far From Home is adequate. There's some good stuff in there. And Civil War rules hard, all right? It's the best one. And so
Agreed.
I really like Homecoming. And
Homecoming's
so there's
some great individual releases for all of those that you should have got.
Yep. Yeah. Sucks to be me, right? Oh my God. And me and Austin, who's appeared on this channel, me and him did the exact same thing.
Oh, no.
We were both holding out hope that they would release a Phase 3, and they didn't. Now, what they did do is they put out an Infinity Saga 4K box set of everything and went to
massive.
It was massive. It was like $500. It went to eBay, and then it went out of print like that. So, yeah.
So you want them to... and this is your dream world. Yeah. You want that third box. Do you want them to release that now? Just be like, hey guys, sorry we goofed.
Yeah,
we're actually putting it out.
Just out of spite, just Phase 3. Just put out a Phase 3 box set. That's it. Phase 4 is pretty much over now. I don't care. Put out a Phase 3
Hey guys,
box
we just
set.
Announced Phase 5 and 6, but we're going to put out Phase 3 finally.
Yes. That in my dream world, that's what we get.
Wow.
So there we go. That's number 4.
I knew that story,
Cinematic Universe.
But I did not think you would put that on this list. That's hilarious. I'm sorry, man. My condolences.
But when it comes to physical media, Disney sucks. All right?
This is true. Yeah. This is true. All right. Well, Next up, we'll go to my number 4, which does not have as much passion and hatred behind it. This is a lovely little filmmaker that no one's probably heard of. It is Lotte Reiniger, director of The Adventures of Prince Ahmed. This is her most famous work. If you've heard of her, you've probably seen this film. This is a great film. I have seen this one. And I've also seen some of her other work. She is a pioneering animator who started all the way back in the 1920s. She has a wholly unique animation style where it looks, and I think is actually like paper cutouts, like silhouettes animated. It looks so cool. I absolutely loved this movie when I watched it on the Criterion Channel last year, I think. And they have a whole like expose on her. They have this and like all of her other films. I just need that to be released on Blu-ray because it hasn't been. This was put out by, what in the world studio is this? Milestone Film and Video? Yeah, so they put this out, and there is a UK release of some of her films. Most of her films are short films, and this is a feature length, but there's a UK release called Lotte Reiniger's Fairy Tales, and it has a ton of her films on there, and we didn't get it in Region A. It's only Region B. So I would like either version of that. I'd be fine with just that. That has 2 discs. It has Cinderella, The Death Feigning Chinaman, The Golden Goose, Aladdin and the Magic Lamp, The Frog Prince, The Gallant Little Tailor, Sleeping Beauty, Snow White and Rose Red, Cinderella again from 1954. The other one was from 1928. She did a remake of that. And then Puss in Boots. And then the second disc has The Magic Horse, The Grasshopper and the Ant, The Three Wishes, Thumbelina, The Caliph Stork, Hansel and Gretel, Jack and the Beanstalk, The Little Chimney Sweep, and The Frog Prince. So this is like, she was very into the fairy tale genre, and she put out a lot of films, some short and some feature length. And so that's a really cool set, and I'd be totally satisfied with just a like American release of that set, because there's not a Blu-ray. I think that's just a DVD. So update that and make it region free. Awesome. I would be totally satisfied with that. But she also has made many more films, including Papagino. She did just the Papagino short, a song from the Mozart's The Magic Flute. And,
that's awesome.
I watched that. I actually saw that on the Criterion Channel before I watched The Magic Flute. And I was like, this is, speaking of bangers, like this song is great. And then, so it's like a fantasy version of that whole story, animated. And I really like The Magic Flute too. So that would be cool to have. She also did quite a few Dr. Dolittle adaptations and just a bunch of other stuff. She was very prolific. Like I said, I'd be happy with the Just Fairy Tales release, but if you want to just do a whole Lotte Reiniger box set, like, yes, please. I'll take it. Just wrap up everything. And she also worked forever. Like I said, she started in the 20s, and her last film came out in the 80s.
Whoa.
Like, she was putting in the work. She's awesome. We need to show a lot more love to her, because she's really cool and very influential and very important in the animation world. So that's my number 4.
Excellent. That's really cool. I would be very interested in that myself. Number 3, go into one of my favorite
top filmmakers. Here we go.
A man who pretty much trades exclusively in banger movies. This is Richard Linklater.
Oh.
And I would really, really like it if his animation films got a Blu-ray release. I don't think any of them have, because
none of them.
Waking Life was pretty popular on the kind of like indie film school scene when it came out. It was pretty revolutionary because of the way it did rotoscoped animation, and like the software they were able to do it at was very much like anybody could do this. Now, I don't think that movie could get a 4K because, like, I mean, you could, but it would be a fake 4K. It'd be a faux K.
Upscale.
Yeah. Because I think that was mastered at 2K. So basically, Richard Linklater's animated films are all rotoscoped animated. Mm-hmm. He shot them all live action, and then in post, like, put a film of animation paint basically over everything. But he has 3 films. There's Waking Life from 2004. There is A Scanner Darkly, which I believe is 2007. And then just recently, in 2022, on Netflix, there's Apollo 10.5, A Space Age Childhood. Mm-hmm. Now, what's really cool about all 3 of these is that the rotoscope animation is utilized in a different way each time, where the Waking Life is much more like abstract and crazy with it. It's trying to recreate this sensation of lucid dreaming.
Ooh.
And so the art style shifts constantly in that. What were we gonna say?
I didn't know that that's what that was about. That piques my interest a lot. I'm very interested in that.
And I would say Waking Life is effectively his spiritual sequel to Slacker. But what's really cool about that, what gives it a very like kind of surreal, dreamlike edge is that they shot it all live action. So the audio was all like live audio, but it's animated. And you're used to all the audio and animation being
studio.
It's all been like created for this. It's so strange to hear just like ambient noise and naturalistic dialogue in an animated setting.
Wow,
Anyways,
so it probably adds to the realism.
It does, and that's what makes it feel dreamy and disorienting, and it's really cool. And then something like Scanner Darkly is just kind of more normal, and I think the reason why it's even rotoscope is because it's based on a Philip K. Dick novel, so there's a science fiction element, and they have it's about cops that wear these suits that change their faces and features constantly, and I think in live action they couldn't have done that.
Yeah.
But it's also about people on drugs all the time, because it's sort of about drug culture and the war on drugs and the way in which the system beats you down. It's basically a Richard Linklater movie that's based on a book by the guy who also wrote the book that Blade Runner is based on. So it has a very kind of
sounds very like Dread 2012.
Yeah, I can see how the connection. I would be surprised if Alex Garland, when he was writing Dread, was not inspired by Philip K. Dick. But that of course has Woody Harrelson, Robert Downey Jr., Winona Ryder. It stars Keanu Reeves. It's a really good movie.
You're getting me interested in all these movies, so they need to release this box set. I'm with you now.
And then Apollo 10.5, probably my least favorite of the three, but still good. It's Linklater. He makes good movies. It's, stars Jack Black basically as a voiceover, but it is just about the late 60s Houston, Texas, when the space race was going on. I felt like his childhood is the center of the universe.
Jack Black in 2021?
Yeah. Except he
not
never
in a TikTok video in his underwear?
I know, it's shocking.
That's crazy.
But it's only his voice. So it's you don't see him, but it's only his voiceover. And it's him reflecting on his childhood being in Houston, Texas during the space race when it felt like you were living in the future. And so it's very wistful, very nostalgic, very romanticized.
That's really cool. I love Jack Black. I'll watch him in anything.
And I mean, his collaborations with Richard Linklater are all awesome, right?
Here we go. He can't go past it without bringing it up. Go ahead.
School of Rock rules. That movie is awesome. Bernie is really, really good.
You saw Bernie. See, I told you Bernie was great. It's
so good.
It's so quirky and weird.
And I think they're going to make basically another version of Bernie, because Bernie was, I'm sorry, this is a complete tangent. So Bernie was based on an article, right? In a some publication.
Okay.
And the screenplay was co-written by Linklater and that journalist.
Oh, interesting.
And now he's making another movie, or at least they're planning on making another movie that is based on one of his articles written by that journalist and Linklater. Oh. So I think it'll have a similar kind of pseudo-documentary vibe that Bernie has. But regardless, it's pretty cool. But
that is cool. It'd be a nice trilogy. 3 movies.
Yeah.
That'd be a cool box set.
My thing with his animated movies, I do really like them. They don't have I think A Scanner Darkly might have gotten a Blu-ray, but Waking Life hasn't, and Apollo 10.5 is a Netflix movie, so it hasn't gotten a physical release yet. So I think if you could just put all of those out on a Blu-ray set together, that would be really, really cool.
Yeah, hopefully he has the rights to them still, and Netflix didn't make him sign off his firstborn child or something. But no, that'd be really cool. That's awesome, man. My number 3 is also a director box set. This would be more all-inclusive, though, because he has not made a lot of things. This is another director who was very passionate about making films for children, which strikes a chord with me, and I'm trying to amass a good library for my kids to grow up with. And this first one from this director is one of my favorite movies now. This is Albert Lamorisse Films box set, whatever you want to call it. I think Criterion could do this, but I don't know. Whoever wants to do it. It's the Red Balloon director. I mean, so Criterion has put out 2 of his films. They put out The Red Balloon and White Mane. No relation. They just both happen to have a color. So he's a French director, and which is why I'm probably butchering his last name. But these are both great children's films, and they're both shorts. This one's 40 minutes, and this one's 34 minutes. So we got 1956 and 1953, and he uses his children in these films. I think this is his oldest son, and his younger son is also in this too, and then his younger son is the star of this one, which is really cool. And these are both really good shorts that I've shown my kids, and I think they're great for kids, and I want the rest of his movies. He has released 3 other films, and one documentary. He actually died filming the documentary, like in a helicopter crash or something. Very tragic. Oh, wow. So he only has 5 films. So obviously Red Balloon and White Mane would be there. His next film is called The Stowaway in the Sky, and it's about like a kid who gets in like a hot air balloon and goes on an adventure, which seems really cool. Then you've got Circus Angel, and then you've got Bim. And all of his films are not just like appropriate for children. I'm saying with a grain of salt because I haven't seen those last 3, but I'm assuming they are. But they're also are about children. Like the child is the star. Like I don't know if you've seen The Red Balloon, but it's all about this boy, and there's a relationship with this mystical balloon. And then this is White Mane. It's all about this boy's relationship with this horse that nobody can tame except for the boy. So I love his stuff. My son loves his stuff, and I would really like just a simple 5-movie box set from him, because I think a lot more people should be talking about him. I mean, I'm very thankful that Criterion put these 2 out. These are not actually spine numbers, though. I don't know what the deal is with these. They just have the Janus Film logo. They don't have the Criterion C, but they're part of the sales when they do the 50% off sales and flash sales, like Criterion sells them. So I don't exactly know what the rights are with these. But hey, if it's not even a spine number and it's just Janus Films, at the very least, just releasing his 3 other films would be great. But this is a box set video, so I had to get into a box set. So that is my number 3, Albert Lamouris. Really cool guy.
Well, speaking of Criterion, I think I'm pushing my luck on this one, because I know this is going to be extremely difficult to like put together, even more so than the first one. So over here I have my Godzilla, the Showa era films. So my number 2 is Godzilla, the Heisei era films.
Oh, I figured this would be on there. Part 2. Yeah.
So here's okay. And I would actually have it from 1984 through 2004. Ooh. So widely regarded as the Heisei era is Godzilla 1984, The Return of Godzilla, through Godzilla vs. Destroya. It's been a minute since I've looked at these. But then when they did, then it's the Millennium era is Godzilla 2000 through Godzilla Final Wars. But
it's so crazy to have a franchise that has eras. Like, forget Saga's MCU. They've got eras over there. They've been doing this character for so long. That's crazy.
But the reason we call it the Showa era is based on who the Emperor of Japan was. and like, it's the Heisei era because of who, the Emperor of Japan was. I believe that's how they kind of dictate that. And so, like, when you go and look at Arrow's Gamera films, like, they have a Showa era of Gamera and a Heisei era of Gamera, because that is the Heisei era of Japan. And so, they call it the Millennium series or era of Godzilla because of, like, well, this is like a different, like, a different glut of Godzilla. Like we kind of stopped after Godzilla versus Destroya, and we started anew with Godzilla 2000 moving forward. But if you're going to make those box sets, they just pale in comparison to the 15 films of the Showa era. So, and the Millennium era is a part of the Heisei era, actually. We just wanted to distinguish the two because there was a break of Godzilla production between Destroya and Godzilla 2000. Yeah. So now retroactively in hindsight, let's just take the Heisei era and the Millennium era, put them together, and just call it the Heisei era.
And just do because a part 2, yeah.
Yeah, and because now we're in I believe it's pronounced the Reiwa era of Japan. So like,
oh, so it could work.
The Heisei era is done. Like, it's in the bag. Yeah. So like, I would really like them.
Do you know how many films it is?
Oh, I think it's about 12.
Okay, so pretty close.
Yeah, no, you'd get close to that. You could do a similar thing what they did with the Showa era set. It's gorgeous. I love the way it looks on my shelf. Mm-hmm. But also, and like, the way they sort of have Godzilla King of the Monsters and the Japanese cut of Godzilla versus or King Kong versus Godzilla as bonus features, you could have Godzilla 1985, which is a sequel, which is a North Americanization of The Return of Godzilla, the first film in the Heisei series, but it's like they brought back Raymond Burr, so it's like a sequel to Godzilla King of the Monsters, which is the Americanized version of the original Godzilla. So like have that as a bonus feature. I know, like Godzilla will make your head explode. So I don't know. I feel like this is kind of a pretty popular one, I imagine. Yeah. The problem is like these movies have been released on Blu-ray and like but they're all owned by different people. Like I think Sony owns a decent amount of them. Like and so they're all just kind of all over the place, and getting your hands on them would be difficult. But then also a number of them, like I don't think Godzilla versus Megaguirus or Godzilla Final Wars ever got like Blu-ray releases. At least definitely not in Region A. Maybe in Japan that is Region A, I guess, but like it's not English language or English compatible, I don't think. I don't know. Point is, it would be pretty hard to get their hands on it, but I never would have guessed the Showa era set would have ever happened. That's like a miracle. So if they can do that, maybe they could pull off a Heisei series. But that's why this is number 2 as far as like the Dream box set. So
wow, now that you're saying that, maybe I should get my hands on a Showa era set before it inevitably goes out of print because the rights revert or something.
Yeah.
I still don't have that one, but no, that's great. I could totally see another one on the shelf right next to it, like the same height. Another book, that'd be really cool. All right, my number 2 is probably just as predictable for me, if you know me, as the Godzilla one is for you. Karel Zeman is an amazing filmmaker, and what are you talking about, AJ? He has an amazing set in the Criterion Collection. Oh, I know, it's right here, and it's glorious. And I've already shown it off a million times. It's got this beautiful pop-up book. I'm going to do it again. Who cares? It's my channel. I'm going to show it off again. It's got this beautiful 3 films, 3 adventures by Karel Zeman, and it's got the whole pop-up art in here. It's so cool, but why did they stop at 3? The man has so many great films. Like, come on. I recently bought 8 films by Karel Zeman directly from the Karel Zeman Museum in Czechoslovakia, which is a place that I really, really want to go because it seems amazing and has so much reverence for this filmmaker. He was so influential. So you've got Journey to the Beginning of Time, Invention for Destruction, and The Fabulous Baron Munchausen, which are the 3 that are in the Criterion set. But hello, the dude also made The Stolen Airship, which is another Jules Verne adaptation kind of inspiration film, which sounds really interesting. Haven't seen that one yet. This one I have seen is The Sorcerer's Apprentice, which is a fully animated fantasy film that I watched with both my kids. This is actually the first film my daughter ever watched all the way through. She was like still 1, but she could not take her eyes off this. It's so cool. The animation style is really unique, and it's just a really cool like coming of age fantasy story. Great job, Karel Zeman. And then you've got On the Comet, which has dinosaurs on the front and lots of other cool stuff. Don't know much about this one yet. Can't wait to check this one out. And then lastly, you've got The Tale of John and Mary, which is another animated film, one of his later works, which also seems very interesting. And then this set also comes, I don't know if you'd put this on my box set, but this set also comes with a Karel Zeman documentary about his process, because he had such a unique process. He basically just used any method he could. We talked about this in the Criterion Corner on his first film, but like he didn't care. 2D animation, stop motion, models, like every multimedia style of directing he could get his hands on, he put in his films, and he's a very unique director, and I really like his stuff. And he also has a film called A Jester's Tale, which the museum also puts out. I can't actually get them from the museum. I have to get them secondhand on eBay because they don't ship to America, but I do want to get my hands on Jester's Tale. I still haven't picked that one up. And then he has a lot of shorts. So this would be an 8-film set and the shorts. Unless it was Criterion and they did like only the 5 that they didn't include on the first set and then the shorts. That would be kind of weird. I don't think they would do that. I honestly don't think they'll do it anyway because they don't really do a lot of animation. You basically got Watership Down and Fantastic Planet, and then they're like, okay, we're done. We did 2 animated movies.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really like Karel Zeman. I think he's an awesome filmmaker, and I would love a complete box set of his stuff. I think that would be great. That's my number 2.
All right, my number 1, the big one.
So
I
excited.
am going to. I think there is an element of plausibility here, which is why it's I will lie to myself that this will be announced, sort of thing. You know what I mean? Like, so early in the 2010s, I believe it started in the early 2010s and it was completed in 2014, or maybe it was just a 2014 thing. The BFI was like, we are going to remaster and preserve the first 9 films that are existing anyways by Alfred Hitchcock. They're silent, and The Mountain Eagle was the second film and it's lost, so they didn't do that one. But they did do The Pleasure Garden from 26, The Lodger, Downhill, Easy Virtue, The Ring, Champagne, The Farmer's Wife, The Manxman, and Blackmail. Now, so The Lodger is on Criterion Blu-ray, and it includes Downhill, and a few of these Kino Lorber has. Like, they have Blackmail, they have I want to say Easy Virtue, but like, you can get your hands on most of these. However, like The Pleasure Garden, which is Alfred Hitchcock's first movie, the history behind that movie is insane.
Wow.
There was a 75-minute version of it. Apparently, it's a 75-minute movie. On IMDb and Letterboxd, you look it up, 75 minutes. Mm-hmm. Now, of course, playback speed's a whole thing and whatnot. However, it's 75 minutes. That goes like lost. But there is a bootleg of that's 60 minutes.
Whoa.
So, but then because the 75-minute version got lost, now the 60-minute version is kind of seen as like the only legitimate version of it. However, the BFI have apparently remastered a 90-minute version of The Pleasure Garden.
What?
In 2014, almost 8 years ago, and it's just never been available. They screened it apparently, and that was it.
Oh.
So I have this weird hang-up on first films by filmmakers, and this is Alfred Hitchcock. This is a guy who's on my Mount Rushmore. I love this filmmaker. And what I would like is these 9 movies to sort of be released as like, Alfred Hitchcock, The Silent Years. These are the 9 movies, and they would release it. And there is some precedent for, I think, someone like Kino Lorber to do this. They need to get The Lodger back from Criterion and Downhill. But they did do this exact same thing for Fritz Lang. They put out this really cool digibook of Fritz Lang's German silent film. So that is where they have like Spies. They have the Die Nibelungen double, 2 film.
Oh, it's in there? Cool.
It's in there. Metropolis is in there. Like, so they've released some of those individually, but you can get all of them in that Fritz Lang silent film box set.
We have to have a little competition of the first one that gets that.
Yeah, apparently, because it's really cool. It's this booklet, or it's this digibook. It has all of his silent films, and you can get it for like $75. Yeah, you can find it for $75.
Oh,
which is
wow.
Pretty darn. Yeah,
That's
it's really good.
Deal.
And it has a lot of movies in it. So I want it. Do that, but for Alfred Hitchcock.
Yeah.
And that's my number one. I would really like that, and you just get all the BFI remasterings. I don't know what the BFI's hang up with some of these is. Like, a few of them have not. But The Pleasure Garden is like the big one. And it would just be kind of nice to have them all in one spot. So that's my number one. Alfred Hitchcock, The Silent Years.
Wow. All right. My number one, guys. Make way for Prince Sabu. Here it is. It's Sabu. Had to put Sabu at number one. Sabu! Where are you, Criterion? Show some love for Sabu. The man is carrying your whole collection basically on his back. Like, I mean, you've already got 2 films in the collection with Sabu, starring Sabu. This one doesn't have a Blu-ray yet. Thief of Baghdad. Beautiful film. He plays the second man, right-hand man of the lead. Great movie. Great for history of visual effects. Also, Black Narcissus. Fantastic film. He's not like the lead of this one, but he is in a prominent role in that film. And then you guys released this Eclipse set that's not a spine number, but it has 3 Sabu films, including the great best adaptation of The Jungle Book from 1942. And then you've got his earlier film, The Drum. And then you've got his very, very first film when he was like 13 years old and he couldn't even speak English and he had to memorize his lines in English. Elephant Boy. What such a cool guy. Made the perfect Mowgli. Like, literally made to play the character. So good in this. So just put them all together, man. You've already got the rights to all 5 films. What are you doing, Criterion? Just put out a list, put out a box set of these 3 films, and maybe Thief of Baghdad. Maybe it's kind of strange to have Black Narcissus with these adventure films. So I understand if that's too weird for you. Maybe leave that one off. Maybe it's a 4-pack of just these 4 films, and it would just be nice to have these on Blu-ray in general, because none of these have Blu-rays. These are only DVDs. But you gotta do something for the man. Like, he's so great. I mean, obviously, if we're just like saying whatever, I would just like all of his movies on a Blu-ray box set. He's done 23 movies. He acted well into his older years. That would be really cool. But at the very least, just release these on Blu-ray. Like, if you haven't seen The Jungle Book 1942, give it a watch, because the landscapes and the animal photography is just gorgeous. I would love to see it on Blu-ray. Same thing with Thief of Baghdad, the location shots and all the outside stuff. Obviously, the visual effects wouldn't look great it's the very first instance of blue screen on film. So there's a lot of blue edges around people because they're just learning how to use it. But it's still a beautiful looking film, and I would love to see these on Blu-ray. Sabu, release a Sabu box set. Somebody, Criterion, if you're not going to do it, give the rights to someone else so they can release a Criterion box set. But had to put it at number 1, mostly just to make Connor go bananas, because that's like our inside joke. But I really do like him. He's such a charming lead man. All the way back when he was like 13, he already had me. I did see actually Jungle Book was the first film I saw of him, but I've gone back and watched all the other ones, and I love him. I really need a box set of his stuff, or at least some Blu-rays in Region A, which there aren't. So, yeah. This is kind of a bummer video because it's like all this stuff that we want, and then none of it will ever exist. So, but hey, that's our take on it, on this very, very specific topic. And let us know what you guys think of our picks in the comments section below. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a like, hit subscribe, all that stuff. But more importantly, in the comments, let us know what you would choose if you had your pick of your dream Blu-ray box set. You only get 10, and you can cram them full of as many films as you want. But I'm really interested. I think this is a cool topic. Thanks for talking about it with me, Connor.
Yeah, thank you for pitching this idea. It was really fun to think out of the box and use my imagination.
Yeah, it was very fun. It was very fun to put this together. Almost as much fun as it was talking to you about it, sir.
Aww.
But we enjoyed making it. Hope you guys enjoyed watching it. And like I said, let us know your feelings down below, and I will be back with another video very soon. Bye, guys. His 7th film, Insect, all the way in 2018. Let me redo that again because I had the camera on you the entire time.